YARRRRR, hello mateys, this is Captain Blue here over at CGPirates. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are doing lovely. We are, as you all know, stuck on the old Corona Boat Express, unfortunately. But stay isolated, don't go out, do some learning, get some new skills. When this is all over, you'll be a much better person for it, okay? I hope you're keeping well, I hope all your families keeping well. You are, of course, always welcome on board the good ship CGPirates. YARRRR. Okay, so I'm going to go to library, and for this I want to launch. I'm using 4.24.3, and it'll start up, and then it'll give me some options. So here you can see the wiki's healthy liver diet that I have on my right hand side. This is to remind me to eat healthily because I've got a fatty liver. It's the non-alcoholic fatty liver, which is just wonderful, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to go and create a new game. Next. And it's going to be a first person. Okay, so next. And I don't want ray tracing because it'll take forever and ever and ever to do anything. I'm going to change this to U. That's my drive where I do stuff. And I'm going to call this Sandbox. Okay, just so I know what it is. And click Create Project. There, it's done. Okay, so it's going to load up now, and I'll pause while it does. There we go, that was nice and quick, wasn't it? And of course, you know, you can have fun shooting things with your toy gun in this level if you really want to, but let's get on with the good stuff. So, File, New Level, and I'm going to create a default level, and this default level I'm going to save, and I'll call it Sandbox 1, okay, just so I know what it is. And it says here project file is out of date. Update it then. There we go. Now, I need to bring in some foliage from Quixel Mixer. Okay, so I'm starting Quixel Mixer. It's going to tell me to update straight away. And I didn't want to use Quixel Mixer, I wanted to use Quixel Bridge. So I shall sign out of that. Bridge will definitely ask me to update. I haven't updated in about a week. Do that later. Right, now in my local, just here, we will see some beautiful ferns. Okay, I love ferns. So we're going to go to ferns, we're going to go to export, and it should hopefully, I say hopefully because I didn't actually set it up to export, there we go, export straight into Unreal Engine. There we go. Should be nice and quick. And I'm going to dismiss the new plugins are available because it's the ocean shader it's talking about. I thought I hadn't started from unpausing it again, so I was a little bit concerned there. Anyway, there's a few things to bring in. It takes a while because it's important to load normal maps. Okay, we're not really interested in loads of this, but I've basically done the export from this anyway. It comes in handy if I was using things like the foliage systems in, what's it called again? You know, the placement tool where you basically drag your brush around. Anyway, I'm not going to be using that. So I've just saved everything. And over here I'm going to go Window, Details, blah, 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 blah. Let me see. I want another content browser, don't I? So Content Browser 2. There it is there. And I want to make a new folder. And I'm going to call it sandbox_stuff, and in there I'm going to create a new folder called Foliage. So new folder Foliage. Okay, and inside this I'm going to get these three blue and just drag them to here, and I'm just going to copy them. Okay, that way I've got 3 copies of these lovely ferns, and if you want to have a look at them, lovely. Okay, they look like ferns. That's all we needed. Right, now this isn't going to work, okay, and the reason being because I need to go to Editor Preferences, okay, and then inside of here I need to go to the Experimental section, just there, and then I need to enable the Procedural Foliage, okay, and now if I do that and close it down and dismiss that, dismiss that, dismiss that, fine, I'll manage plugins. There, I'll enable True Sky. Now I'll disable it again. I'll close it. There, it's gone. Right, so I'm now going to get rid of this second content browser because I don't need it. And what I'm going to do is, sorry, I'm going to scratch my nose. Oh, goodness me. I can create some landscape if I want to, but I don't really want to. Okay, there's not really much point. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to create a new procedural foliage spawner. Okay, so if I go to my sandbox stuff, foliage, here it is, and procedural foliage spawner is just under foliage. Okay, I'm going to call it ferns everywhere. Okay, that's a good name. Okay then, so now we've got our procedural foliage spawner, okay, and we've given it a meaningful name. I'm going to drag it into its position, just so we can test it out. Nothing's going to happen at the minute. It doesn't know what to do with itself. Okay, now, we need some foliage to do this stuff now, so we need a foliage type, okay? So in here, I'm going to go to foliage, and this is landscape grass type. That's kind of what it means, okay? So we're going to call this ferns type, okay? So now we've got our foliage type. That way it makes it a lot easier for us to understand, okay? And if I just double click on it, you'll see there's not a lot inside it, okay? We've got an option to add varieties of grass to it. If I go in here, you'll see I just clicked plus and then expanded that. Grass mesh, none. Why is there none grass mesh in there? Well, we need to add one, don't we? So what I'm going to do is I am going to add this, which is our static mesh, into there, okay? And over here is our density, and I'm going to drop that down to about 10. Alright, so that's a good starting place. Now, I'm just going to close my window. If I go over here and scroll down a bit, you'll see that there's this handy dandy button called Resimulate, okay? Now Resimulate ain't doing nothing. So what we need to do is, we've got ferns everywhere as our procedural foliage spawner, sorry. Okay, and that is next our foliage type. And in this, there we go. Just make sure that I've got this right. I'm going to move the little man and that out of the way. Bring that down to about there. Okay, now there's no 6 overrides on this one, nothing. And allow foliage. We're going to allow static meshes. Yeah, that's cool. I don't think we have a landscape. Hang on a second, I'm going to get a landscape in it anyway. And reduce the things right down. There we go, and create. I'm just going to move our landscape. Not you, you're not a landscape. You're on my landscape. There we go. Right, sorry about that. I have a very silly cat that wants to be let out the window. I'm just going to quickly delete that. Right then, so what we need to do is open up ferns everywhere, okay, which is our procedural spawner. Now what you'll notice, okay, here is I've just expanded foliage types, because there weren't none, and it's looking for foliage types now. So what we can do is we can start putting things into here. Okay, so it's looking for foliage objects. So var1 LOD2 for example. Okay, so if I click save, and if I go to this one, okay, which is our common fern here, okay, it'll just pick stuff up straight off that. Now what we could also do, if I just go over to my sandbox stuff, I know I'm waffling a bit here, bear with, is I can go right click, foliage, static mesh foliage, okay, static 1 fern. Okay, and this, if I just open it up, I can put this into, so I'll just drag it in and click save. Okay, now if I go to ferns everywhere, I can now use my static 1 fern. And the good thing is this means that I can now tell it exactly how I want my fern to be, used inside the level. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a couple more statics. So I'm going to create static 2 fern and static 3 fern. So foliage, static mesh fern, and it's going to be static 2 fern, and another foliage, static 3 fern. Okay, so obviously static 2 fern is going to be this one, and static 3 fern is going to be this one. Okay, I'll just save all of this. Right, so now what I'll do is I'll make a folder here so that I know the meshes are going to be safe. I'll put the meshes into here. Now they're out of the way. Okay, now if I go over to my ferns everywhere, okay, and I'll just close this down again. Now I want to look in here, and this will give us the basic stuff we need to know about how our ferns are going to be placed. Okay, so if I scroll down, you'll see that we've got these various instancing settings and placements, okay, including collision, clustering, and growth. These are important. So collision radius, these things are small, okay, so we're going to set its collision radius to 3 and its shade radius to maybe 2, okay, and that's units, that's centimeters, so 3 centimeters, small ferns. You can make it larger if you want, let's say 6, okay, 6 and 5. And we should do that for all of these, okay, because they're round about the same. So 6 and 5, and this one 6 and 5. Okay. Next, let's have a look a bit further down at clustering. So number of steps is fine. Initial seed density. Okay, so this is how many seeds have been spread in a 10 meter by 10 meter area. So let's say 5. Okay, and the average spread distance, the distance between the spreading and its seeds. So a tree of 10 centimeters for 10 units. Let's say it's going to spread 8. Okay, so we're going to change seed density and we'll change the variance to 20. So 5, 8, 20. Let's do this here as well. So 5, 8, 20. And we'll do it again in this one. 5, 8, 20. Okay, so we've now got these 3 here. Seeds per step 3, distribution seed I'm not really bothered about. Growth. Maximum initial age, maximum age here in procedural scale. Minimum 1, maximum 3. So let's change that. Minimum 1, maximum 2. And we can add a little bit of variance to these as well. So minimum 0.8, maximum 1.5. So the 3 ferns are going to grow differently depending. And minimum 1, maximum 3. Why the heck not? Okay, so now we can save them. So save, save. Let's hit save down here. Save, 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 and save. Control S. Okay, so we have this basically the way we want it now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our volume, which is just there, and I'm going to kind of ignore that. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to move this into its place. Okay, this is our basic landscape. I mean really basic, yeah? Okay then. So in our basic landscape, I'm going to do a quick bit of drawing on it. So I'm just going to reduce this to 256 and just come around it like this just to give it some shape. I'm going to hold shift down and make some little resets and indents and stuff like that. Okay, and now we've got this literally Bethesda quality landscape ready to go into Fallout 76. So what I'm going to do is just save my level, and then I'm going to grab ferns everywhere and just drag it into my landscape, and there it is up there, because for whatever reason it's decided to go into the sky. and I am going to make this now, this box, overlap with the parts I want it to overlap with. Okay, so I'm going to scale it until its volume is covering everything I need it to. Okay, there we go. So it's going to cover just kind of the inside border of this. Okay, now let's look at the settings for this. Okay, there's not a lot we need to really. Have I got the right one? Yeah, that is ferns everywhere. I was a little bit concerned there that I hadn't got the right one. Right, I want to make sure that this is all set up the way it needs to be, and then I'm going to click this resimulate and wait. There we go. And apart from the fact that it's compiling the shaders, you can now see that we have clusters of ferns. So let's let that do its thing. There we go. So here are our clusters of ferns sitting on our ground. Well, that's a good start. Maybe we want more. So I'm going to crank this up. I've got all three selected at once here, and I've opened them all up. So the collision radius seems okay, but let's increase the initial seed density perhaps to 15, and the average spread distance to 16, and just save. And that'll save it for all three. And then if I resimulate again, it might take a little bit longer. If it takes too long, it's crashed, which is never a good sign. Remember, it will want to place an awful lot of stuff, and it'll be trying to work itself out as well. Oh, here we go. There. And you can kind of see what a difference that's made. We have a lot of procedural foliage now, yeah? And of course we're using LODs, so as we get closer, the foliage is popping in. Now if you want to see what it looks like from the guy's point of view, I'll just press play from here. Take a moment, because we've got a lot of geometry suddenly in our level. I would be very wary of putting this much geometry in, but you get the kind of point. Shoot at our geometry now, which is cool. Now again, the LODs are set on this where its level of detail is like crashing out like crazy when you get too close, so be aware. Okay, so what about adding other things to this, just to add some variance? Well, we have a static mesh here, this cube. We could use that, or we could use one of the other ones from down here. Let me just save. So I'm going to go to starter content, props, because you can use anything, and that's what makes this kind of fun. Okay, let's, there's our rock. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to go to Window, and I want to go to Content Browser 2. Okay, and I'm going to bring SM Rock and copy it just to here. Okay, and then save it. Okay, and now I'm going to close down my Content Browser 2. Instead, I will go over to my sandbox over here where I'm doing stuff. Foliage. And I want to make a static. Okay, so remember we did that for the other ones. So this will be static 1 rock. So foliage, static mesh foliage. Okay, static 1 rock. And I'm sure that you can guess, if you really try, what is going in there. Now, in here, I have to put a lot more thinking into how it's going to scale. And I'm going to scale it between 0.2 and 0.6. Okay, and number of steps, initial seed density seems okay. Z offset, I'm going to change slightly to minus 0.2 to a maximum of 0.0. And I'm going to put some random yaw in and add a random pitch angle of 25 degrees. And that way it'll be, slightly different in the way it's placed. It'll be a bit random. Okay, so we now need to let ferns everywhere know that we want this added to the type. So let's see. So what I've done is I've opened ferns everywhere. Okay, and you can see we've got only static 1.fern in this. So we're going to add our different ferns. I'm going to add 4. So static 2.ferns coming in, static 3 ferns coming in, SM static rock is coming in. Okay, and there's going to be a lot of these things now. So what I need to do is reduce exactly what the seed density is. So I'm going to change that to 7. Click save, otherwise there will literally be ferns everywhere. Okay, and now all that's left for me to do is to click here, and I'm going to rebuild. So I'm going to scroll down to resimulate, and it won't take very long, even though it has 4 meshes in it. So give it a second or two. It's now placing it, and lo and behold, it has placed it, although I suspect that there probably wasn't enough rocks in this, sadly, which is a great shame. However, you are seeing that all the different ferns are now placed and kind of overlapping each other. And you would see the rocks more if I'd actually planted more rock seeds, believe it or not. Go figure. Okay, so I hope you found that kind of handy. That's 20 minutes of stuff. A bit rambly in places, I'm sorry. However, you now know how to place foliage, and I will see you in the next bit. So, until then, drop by CGPirates.com, come by our Discord, check us out on Patreon, and a big thanks, by the way, to John, our latest patron. He's one of our newest lieutenants on the deck, on the poop deck, with all the poop. And don't forget, of course, twitch.tv/CGPirates if you want to watch our live broadcasts. And until then, YARRRR, 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 and YARRRR. Love you all. Bye-bye for now. Hugs.